Hello and welcome to 5-Year Club video number 318. Happy Thanksgiving! I looked up, something I normally search for is savings, right, on Google News to try and find good articles. Right now, though, I am completely overwhelmed with save money on Black Friday deal number 7,402. And so instead I had to change my search to emergency fund. Tonight we have an article, Unhappy with Your Financial Life? Do a Violent Reset, Pete the Planner says. All right, I like drama in financial lives. I like dramatic changes. So this article seems like it is up my alley. All right, let's get going. In the fall of 2017, my doctor changed my life by demanding that I quit lying to myself, and over the past year I've learned to be honest with myself, better understand my time and priorities, and hopefully discovered a valuable lesson about my financial life. I thought I went to see him for heartburn medication, but it turns out my doctor had different plans. 6 months of my chest hurting and placing anything in my mouth had finally convinced me to take action. My chest hurting after placing anything in my mouth had finally convinced me to take action. You don't have a heartburn problem, he unleashed in a flurry of irony, having just diagnosed the symptoms as those consistent with heartburn. You have a tolerance problem. Your body, and you for that matter, are too tolerant of bad health choices. If I give you heartburn medication, your tolerance problem will get worse, much worse, and you'll continue to gain weight. Continue to gain weight? How dare? I interjected while clutching my imaginary pearls. He went on to tell me that I was too comfortable with objectively poor health choices. I ate terribly unhealthy foods and exercised as frequently as I remembered to change my furnace filter. His correctness was disgusting. What are the chances you're too tolerant of your suboptimal financial decisions? And how do your masking techniques exacerbate the real problem? While I can choose one of, 200 different personal finance directives of which you might be deficient, I want to focus on Americans' manifestation of their current financial stability, your emergency fund. Personal finance experts love to debate how much of an emergency fund Americans need. I think people need 12 months worth of expenses saved, with 30% held in cash in a fireproof safe, some will assert. Others are comfortable recommending that people accumulate and preserve anywhere from 3 to 9 months worth of expenses to deal with whatever life wants to throw at you on a seemingly indiscriminate whim. I'll let other folks debate it, but I think 3 months worth of expenses in a bank savings account is adequate. Use this exact goal, or use it as a placeholder for something bigger or smaller for that matter. American savings statistics suggest you don't have a proper emergency fund. Therefore, by at least one definition, you lack financial stability. As it stands now, you're tolerating that. You're fine with it. Just as I was fine having heartburn every day for 6 months straight. 108 days of, it will be fine. I'm sure the chest conflagration will die soon. I think people read personal finance columns hoping to glean a slick nugget, which will inconspicuously change their trajectory. I'm fresh out of slick nuggets, and besides, I'm not one much for subtlety. If you're going to change your life, change your life. You need a violent reset. I needed a violent reset. So on November 7th, 2017, as my best friends pulled out of my driveway on their way home to St. Louis, I strapped on my jogging shoes. To call them running shoes would be a disservice to, anyone who actually runs, and began to put one foot in front of the other. 100 meters in, along with a commitment to make drastically different food choices, I had resolved to work out every single day for 1 year. You, too, can stake your claim, draw your line in the sand, or plant your flag. Do something absurd, impossible. Don't spend money for a week. Like this week. Don't spend money for a month. Get a second job, sell your car, move, rock your system. Small changes are overrated. Make absurd changes. Every single person in this world is on a financial path, plotted by the math of our choices. Again, based on nearly every available stability statistic, Americans don't need subtle financial changes. We need absurdity. What if not having 3 months' expenses set aside as an emergency fund wasn't an option? You'd behave differently, wouldn't you? You'd wake up at 4 a.m. on days in which you have a cross-country flight because you don't have any other time to work out and you don't want to break your streak. You'd, like an idiot, a committed idiot, get on the treadmill for 30 minutes 3 days in a row when you have the flu. And you'd lift weights for a while when you nearly tore your hamstring off the bone. And, in the end, you'll regret nothing. Lowering your tolerance is life-changing. When the default is a healthy habit, the excuses melt away. Refuse to proceed until you fix your deficiencies. At 5:30 a.m. on November 6, 2018, in a Portland, Oregon fitness center, I put the icing on the proverbial cake and completed my 365th workout in a row. I know what's next for me. Day 366. Do you know what's next for you? And I think that this article represents a theme in the personal finance industry. Dave Ramsey will say things like, live like no one else, so that later you can live like no one else. He says that because you really have to do different things from the people around you to succeed and to have a significantly different outcome. And like it says in the article, the statistics clearly show that Americans haven't saved enough money, which means that the stuff that your friends are doing is likely involving them not saving enough money. And so you have to do things significantly different. The other thing is that when you make significant changes in your life, you learn so much more than when you comb through articles trying to find a slick nugget, trying to find some magic thing that's going to fix your financial life without you having to change much. I know that while I was paying off my condo, I was looking so hard for that slick nugget. I really wanted the payoff period to end, and I spent hours and hours. Just night after night, I would read articles and look up people who had paid off their mortgage and look up people who did different things, and I never found a slick nugget. I never found some clever answer. But by consistently sticking to my budget and making those really large mortgage payments, I did get rid of the mortgage. And that's what worked. Was just kind of this long-term savings default. Anyway, speaking of that, a little update for you guys. I talked about the Long Game app for iPhone, where you can get some kind of game-playing tokens. It's not exactly gambling. Every time that you save money in their savings account. And I have been, the games aren't incredibly fun. They're like a little bit amusing, but nothing too much to write home about. In fact, I think that actually I have some very specific feedback about that app now. Hey, if the Long Game company is listening to this video, which they're almost for sure not, the kind of roadmap that you have where a crystal appears every time you save money in a different region. Number one, I can't tell where the road is, so that's kind of confusing. And everything kind of looks the same, so I wasn't even aware that it was actually moving in the beginning. And two, what's the deal with these crystals? I don't get it. I think that needs to be thought out more. In fact, if you could connect it to a narrative where a different part of the story unfolded every time I saved another $20, that would actually be kind of cool. Because then I would be like, oh, I want to hear that next bit of the story. Anyhow, I am surprised, though. I have saved a total of, I think, $320 with that app. And a lot of my savings, some of my savings were 2 deposits of $100 at a time. But the other $120 has just been me impulsively putting $40 into it, impulsively putting $20 into it, whatever. And I'm kind of surprised that I do that. But apparently I do. And it's weird because I could totally be putting that money into Betterment or my normal bank savings account or whatever, but for some reason I have been doing it in the long game. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, good job attracting my money. But yeah, you could work on some of the other things. Anyway, if you want to save some money, long game is probably the most amusing way you're possibly going to save money. So go check it out. And even if you don't like the games, if you save $500, you're $500 more stable. Well, that is it for video number 318, I believe. Have a fabulous evening.